Actually, I'm probably doing two videos on today. Now, what I did day four was I went through everything in the params, but I left out probably the most cool node ever, the function editor, something that I see David Rutten playing with. And I asked some questions, but kind of figured it out on my own, and I'm pretty happy. But when you look at this with this insane node, when you go into it and see what you possibly can do through all of the functions here and all of the operators, it pretty much makes these first two sections of operators and functions irrelevant, even though there are some things in there. You can actually sit and do some amazing things. Now, what I've noticed with this is David Rutten has shown, obviously not figured out, but shown how to link functions with another function. I'm not doing that yet, and I'm going to do that in the next video, and I'm very excited for that. But then you can actually do things with these functions. And what I've done was I went in and I grabbed a range and I've thrown it through an evaluate function, which was the thing I was looking for. I was playing too much time up here trying to evaluate what these things look like in the panels. I was trying to do a bunch of stuff like, yeah, I don't know what I was trying to do. But in the end, I realized I had to kind of jump down here to the maths and go into the special and get into the evaluate functions, because then we can evaluate derivatives, evaluate integrals, and it just keeps moving. So really fantastic stuff. I'm going to leave these scripts up here. I've grafted this information through a limit function. The reason I did that was I not only wanted to have control of my function, building a piece of geometry from two incredibly manipulable, I should say, manipulable graphs that I can get in here and put the points back on here. Actually, if I can remember how, there it is. If I start to manipulate these, I start to play off of my form. I've got some incredible things that I can do here for shapes. So think about this as spoons and things before you extrude, but basically how to manufacture incredible curves visually from this function editor. Like, this is insane. So you get in there, you basically can play around. I think I've got a nice color on it, yellow if I click on it. But I also wanted to be able to limit it low, high and low as to where I wanted to go on here. So really a lot of control, thinking 2D to start, to build some curves, to then pull that off into three-dimensional forms, basically by creating a point. That's it. My curves come in. I've taken a little bit of time going into the data, and as I filtered through all this new stuff, I found out that at least the partition list was there, or split list was there, so I was able to use that, and just from a little bit of flattening, building some curves, I was able to make this surface. And that's where I'll start to build geometries for kind of a sense of product design or sculpture. That's it in a nutshell, 2.5 minutes. Watch the videos that David Rutten has had. Jump into these editors and see how you can link functions to one another, bring some really cool elements in. I'm going to just put in my absolute value here. I'm not even sure why, but I like that you can actually play off of that and have sliders for these functions, which is amazing. And if you don't like what you've done, then just delete it. And you can also you can kind of get in here for all the functions that you've made and make a priority over anything. But I'm just going to take that whole function there, and I'm still figuring out the details of what I want to do as I get into this. Like, it's just insane, the amount of finesse and curves that you can do. And if you think about Rhino, and Rhino is strictly a curve and surface based program, which is it's so much more now. You can start taking this from computer science to math, the computational studies. Obviously, physics is here when you look at the maths. So I'm just going to creep. I'm going to keep creeping through the maths. I'm going to go through. I'm going to play around with a little bit of these individually, but I think I'm going to stay to the special evaluate function tool, and then the params. I'm going to use this one. It's kind of like the graph mapper on steroids, and I just feel like a magic man doing this stuff. And please jump in here. I'll have these files. I mean, you can basically build them yourself. There's nothing tough on them, but I am putting them on my Patreon. I'm trying to do one script a day, and I know Daniel Christoph's going to join me in a couple of weeks, and we are just going to hit this off and have a blast. I definitely want to get in here and get all of my list items going, and then I do want to get in and get my tree to items going, because I don't see my path mappers. I don't see my, what were they called? Oh my gosh, all the scripting that could happen there. But I've seen some function scripting, even in conditionals and return values and scripting in what seems like a C# program from David Rutten's short 2-minute videos. So I'm going to keep mine kind of short. This is the basic of it. Once you have this up and running, you're in business. And you're driving everything computationally. And this is just in a 2D plane, but imagine when you extend this to the Z and you start to build some incredible curves, and you're seeing those all within the incredible tool of the function editor. So function editor on steroids, have a blast.